So I finally had the Ender 3 Pro. This is the second one that I've been sent out because the first one they sent out the standard Ender 3. So I've been waiting for a little over a couple of weeks for this now. So I'm just going to unbox it and yeah, let's get it set up. So let's go ahead and open it up. We can see this is the Ender Pro and not the standard Ender 3 that was sent out last time. The one that was sent out before was actually the Ender 3X, and that included a glass build plate. I actually paid for a Ender 3 Pro with a glass build plate, so I'm hoping that this box on the side here with Fragile on it is the glass plate. So this thing looks really well wrapped, so I'm just gonna go ahead. I really should have got a better knife for this, but this will do. So first of all, let's just see if we've actually got the build plate that we paid for. I was a little bit worried that when they resent it, they wouldn't send me. There we go. No, that's perfect. I think that's exactly the one that came with the Ender 3X that I received earlier. So, yeah, that's good. So we'll just get rid of this cellophane. Just put the box the right way up. And cut the top open. Yeah, this is not the easiest of jobs with the knife that I'm using. There we go. So it looks pretty much identical to the packaging that the Ender 3X came in. The difference is that I can see straight away there's the new power supply that should be a lot safer than the one that comes with the Ender 3. Apart from that, everything looks to be pretty much the same. There's a bonus. This one actually comes with a UK plug, whereas the one that I received before was a European plug, so that's great. So you've got the instructions that come with the printer. I can see there's like a certificate of conformity, a QA card basically to say that everything's been signed off. I think there's a guarantee on the back there as well. So as you can see, the instructions are pretty straightforward. Doesn't seem to be that many steps actually. I mean, this thing comes part assembled anyway. What it doesn't go into great depth on is actually making sure that everything is fully level and balanced and all the measurements are even around the perimeter of the printer. So the next thing we've got in the instruction pack is just a message just to say thank you for your order. It's quite nice. And yeah, we have the guarantee card again, was chucked to one side. So what I'm going to do first is just remove some of these items here to free up some movement in the foam, so that makes it a little bit easier to take the main body of the printer out. That's just so we don't damage it by putting too much force on it trying to remove it from the foam. So we'll just take the power supply out first. You can see already that this is much thinner than the Ender 3X that I received earlier. And I'm glad that I actually stuck to my guns and asked them to send me out a Pro version instead. I was thinking about upgrading keeping the Ender 3X and upgrading it, buying a Meanwell power supply, but it would have meant that I would have had to 3D print this section here. Honestly, I'd probably rather have them send me a fully assembled one in ABS. So I'm happy about that. If you did consider upgrading your Ender 3 to an Ender 3 Pro, most of the parts can actually be upgraded. The only thing that can't be upgraded is the bigger Y-axis that we've got down here. This is actually double the size or double the width of the Ender 3 version. So I did consider doing this after I contacted the seller in China, and they were reluctant to send me out a Ender 3 Pro, even though I'd actually paid for an Ender 3 Pro. They wanted me to keep the Ender 3 and just refund me some money, but as much as I would have preferred to do that in regards to, you know, time and effort spent, I wouldn't have been able to get the Y-axis, the exact same one as the Pro version. So I could have upgraded everything else. I could have upgraded the power supply, and I could have 3D printed a bottom section to go on the power supply. That wouldn't have bothered me too much. But it was just this more stable, rigid structure from the Pro that I actually wanted to begin with. So I just stuck to my guns and basically said that I'm willing to wait, and I don't care how you get it to me, but I want the Pro version that I actually paid for. So fair play to them, they've actually sent me out a Pro version, and I believe they shipped it from Germany as well, so there was no import fees, and it took only a couple of weeks. So the next thing to come out of the box is the LCD panel. Just wiggle that out and it should come out. I do believe that's a sealed bag. Oh, it's got anything that you can actually tear it from. Now, I believe it's sealed and there's not a notch on it, so I'm just going to grab the knife wherever I've put that. Noodle, have you seen my knife? Have you had it? It's up there. No, it's not up there. Oh, here it is. I've got it. So let's open this real quick. As we can see, this is the very latest Ender 3 Pro. They still haven't put a cover on the back. I guess it's just to keep costs down. That looks good, no problems there. So I think one of the first things that I'll actually print for this is a cover for the back. And that's just so that when you're picking up the printer or you're just resting your hands towards the back when you're adjusting the dial, you don't actually inadvertently short out any of these pathways on the board. One thing worth noting as well, they do still have the buzzer on this latest version. The next step is to remove, I'm not quite sure what that is, I believe it's probably the two side bits, whatever you call those. I'm not really familiar with the 3D printing lingo just yet. This is literally the first 3D printer I've ever owned, and I've only been researching it for the past 2 weeks. Quite satisfying removing this, actually. Yeah, there's a few nicks and whatnot here. I mean, these things are made out of aluminium, so they're going to scratch really easily anyway. So you can see from the production run that they've been scuffed slightly all the way down the length, but not a big deal. I'm sure it'll still function perfectly fine and no one will notice. I can see again there's some more of these. They're called extrusions, I think they're called. So yeah, I believe this one's the one for the top of the printer, and this one's the X-axis for the hot end to run up and down on. Just pop those out of the way. We'll remove the next bit, which is all the tools, bolts, tie wraps. I think there is some wire snipper type tools in there as well. We've got the bolts, lots of different bolts. We've got a drive belt of some kind. We've got a threaded open end cap of some kind. And yeah, just a lot of bolts in there. And I believe this is some free filament, I believe. Like I said, I'm very new to this. I have got my filament over on the shelf over there. It looks very similar to this, and I believe that is what it is. We've got the Z-axis limit switch, and I believe that's for the printer or the control board to actually understand when the Z-axis is actually bottomed out or topped out. I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't actually assembled it. I have a general idea of mechanics. We have some spares. I believe some pneumatic couplers, I think they're called. We've got a spare nozzle, and I believe these go on the couplers to either tighten it down or stop it from compressing down by accident. Yeah, that's what it'll be. I have heard that these are not very good. I'm not sure if they've updated it on the latest ones, but it might be that I'll have to 3D print some of these. They're very small, so I imagine they'd be quite quick to 3D print. I'll put those to one side. The next thing we have is what appears to be a micro SD card, which is quite handy. I can never have too many of those. 8 gigabytes, and it's NATAC? Not too sure. I can't imagine it's a very good SD card. Let's have limit switch out of the way. I'll just pop that back in there so we don't lose it. And then we have a nondescript random piece. See if I can guess what this is. So I imagine this is the X-axis belt guide. This probably goes on one end of the X-axis, and the belt probably just goes on there and that bolts on. Put that back in the bag. So let's pop all these things to one side. And I'll pop out the next thing. You know what, I have no idea what this is. I do believe it's probably what the hot end sort of mounts to, and then this will go over the rail, and the whole thing will be able to slide back and forth. But I actually have no idea what that's called. I guess we'll find out when we assemble it. So I'm going to take out the next piece. This looks like a fairly big and important piece. I believe this is the extruder part. You know what, it's getting quite difficult to take these out with one hand. You know what, thinking about this, this Pro version's got a magnetic plate, so if I actually remove that plate, that might actually give me a little bit more room, and I can see what's going on a little bit clearer. I don't want to damage anything. This build plate's pretty good, actually. I know it gets a lot of stick online, and I do have a glass bed that came with the printer, and I'm prepared to buy another bed if needs be. I've actually got a bunch of upgrades to this printer already. I've pretty much got an upgrade for every part of it, including auto bed leveling sensors, updated hot end, new tubing, etc, etc. So I will be doing more videos about installing those. I'm not sure if it's of any help to anyone. Maybe someone finds the format that I do these things in particularly useful. I'm not too sure, but there's all these guides available on YouTube already, but it couldn't hurt to have more of them, I guess. So I do intend to print with PETG, and I don't believe this magnetic bed is suitable for that for two reasons. One being that the magnetic bed will actually degrade, so the magnet itself will become less magnetic the hotter it gets. So I believe after 80 Celsius it actually damages the magnet and it will become non-magnetic. So that basically takes away the usefulness of this bed. Number two is the PETG will actually bind to this surface quite easily. So when you come to remove your 3D printed part, you'll find that it's actually bound to the bed like super glue. And when you come to rip it off, you'll end up taking up some of the bed with it as well. So this wouldn't last long trying to print PETG on it. So I do believe instead of printing on this, you can actually print directly onto the surface. I have seen reports of people who actually print directly onto this with both PLA and PETG and don't have any problems. I do have hairspray and I do have PVA glue and glue stick available if I need to. I'll just see how I get on with that. But I have received also a sheet of PEI, not with this order, but a separate order. And I will put that on top of this as well, if needs be. And what that will do is give me a surface that I don't actually need to prep with anything, so it won't require any glue or hairspray or anything like that. You can just print straight onto the PEI, and when the heat bed cools down, I think the surface tension of the heat bed changes, and as a result the 3D printed part, which has a particular tension when it's printed, the tension on the actual surface will change. And because of that change, the two parts will actually break away from each other. So I believe when it's cooling down, you'll actually hear the part actually cracking away from the surface. So when you come to actually pick it up after it's cooled down, it literally just lifts off, no problem. Well, the next thing I'm going to remove is this foam insert from the packaging. It actually makes it a lot easier to get everything else out. I actually thought I had to remove the printer from that foam piece and it wasn't coming out straight away. That would explain why this wasn't moving so well. So I'm just going to remove the extruder section, which has a big QR code on. I have no idea what that's for. I've seen it on other printers on YouTube, but I'm guessing it's just some sort of advertisement, and it probably takes you to the, like it says, Facebook page of Creality. It's a little bit obtrusive. Yeah, I kind of feel like I have an advert on my 3D printer there. I mean, I know they made it and all, to be fair, but I might end up changing that for a logo or something. This is the X limiter switch. So this will tell the controller board when it's reached the end of the travel of the rail. And you can see the plastic extruder that they have on there. I've seen other people complain about this plastic extruder, saying that there's some play and give to it, and that it's not very good with slightly flexible filaments. I have actually received a fully aluminium extruder section that I'm going to install at some point. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to install everything straight away as is, see what everything's like, and then start installing the new parts, the upgraded parts, because otherwise I'll never know whether the upgraded parts actually had a positive impact or a negative impact. So I'm just going to see how I get on for a week and then start upgrading things. So I can see they've packed me a knife as well. That's quite handy. No, they didn't really. That's just fallen in there. Next thing is the I don't know what you call this. It's a big screw basically that the stepper motor runs up and down. Let's pop that out of the way for one sec. And finally, oh no, not finally, we've got one more piece, which I'm just gonna try and grab. There we go. This will be what this screws into. I'm not sure if there's a top and bottom to this, but essentially what will happen is that will, I think it needs loosening up before I can actually put something in there, but, oh no, there we go, it's gone in. Yes, the way this works is that the x-axis will have another section similar to this. I'm not sure exactly what it looks like because I haven't actually put this together. I'm not really familiar with the design, but there'll be a section here that has another threaded section in, and as this turns, the threaded section will be forced to move up and down this section here. So that's how that works. So I'll pop this out of the way for a sec. So I believe that's everything. Oh, there's actually one more thing, one final thing hopefully, and that is, oh, 2 parts. And then there's just 2 more parts that come out from under the printer, and I believe this is the filament guide. So I'm guessing that bolts to the frame of the printer. That probably sticks like that, and the threaded section that we saw in the bag of parts earlier that we saw, that probably screws onto there to keep it secure, and then that bolts to the rail. I'll pop this out of the way. So here comes the fun part. This is the actual main body of the printer. So I'm just going to carefully remove this now, being cautious not to actually damage anything or put any strain on any of the parts. You can see that this is just flailing around on its own, so I'll make sure I hold on to that. And that is it. I'll probably have a more in-depth look at the individual parts of the printer later on, but for the time being I'm just going to get this set up on a table that I've got set up on the other side of the room. And one small thing that I forgot to actually mention as part of the unboxing is we have a spatula for removing parts, modelled by my lovely assistant Noodle. What is that, Noodle? Yep, spatula. Where I fits, I sits. Is that right, Noodle? So I'm just going to get this set up on a small bench that I have set up next to my main computer desk, which is an absolute mess at the moment. I honestly don't care. It's where I do a lot of tinkering and work, so it's always going to be messy. And I'm not going to go into setting this printer up just for the time being. I'm just going to leave this as a quick unboxing video, but the next video that I produce will be one of me actually setting it up. So that's the very latest version of the Ender 3 Pro unboxed and causing a mess in my office. I'm just going to leave the 3D printer on the side here. I'm just going to get it set up very shortly. I'm going to film another video. I'm just going to leave this as a quick unboxing video. I hope you found this interesting in some way. If you did, give me a like, subscribe if you like, and I'll see you next time. I believe I did order the noodle. No, just stop, please.